investment option for you and just what to ensure that you have checked before you invest in that particular option. In the second hour, we shall be talking about music, and we shall be talking about how the music industry in the country is being streamlined. But first, let's get into that conversation about choosing the right investment option. In studio with me is Rosella Ngari. She is the Chief Executive Officer at Vasili Africa. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, Betty.
Karibu sana.
Thank you.
Could you just tell us about yourself and Vasili Africa, what you do?
My name is Rosella, as you have said. I am a trained lawyer, but an investment consultant in practice. And I founded Vasili Africa in 2019 with a partner. Why we founded Vasili Africa is because we realized a lot of investors were getting into the market without really understanding why they were investing. They were getting into an investment solution. They take up an investment solution without understanding what is the goal of investing, what am I going to get from this investment, without understanding also the product. So we came up with a solution of educating our investors and everybody that is investing, all our clients, about all investment solutions, about understanding your goals before you start investing, and understanding where your money is going and what that company is going to be doing with your money so that you can get your returns. So Vasili Africa, in a nutshell, is an investment consultancy company, and we pride ourselves with walking the journey with our investors, trying to get them from the level of them knowing where their money is coming from to where it's going, and advising them what investment solutions are really good for their portfolios and the ones that are going to help them achieve their life goals.
Right.
Yes.
So it is very important to educate the masses in terms of what these investment options are and what they can do to ensure that their money is safe. I mean, con artists are everywhere, right?
Yes.
Gunning for their money. So maybe we can just start right there with the investment options that are available.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Really, there is, what would I say, a basket of investment solutions that are available in the market, yeah? And there are so many. It really depends on where you want to start and how you want to start, yeah? From the beginning, you start with understanding what are my goals. Yeah, how much money am I making first, and what are my goals? Then from my goals, I start educating myself with what investment solutions are there that can be able to help me achieve these goals. And as we say, there's so many investment solutions. You start from the savings charmers that we have, merry-go-rounds. That is an investment solution. That is a savings solution that we have in the market. You start with circles. You start with mutual funds that are regulated by Capital Markets Authority. Under mutual funds, we have funds like money market funds where you can invest from as little as 100 shillings and you can get interest rates of between 10 and 12% at the moment. You start with thinking about stocks, the stock market. In the stock market, there are different varieties of investment solutions that are there. You can either buy a stock of a company, you can buy ETFs, that's an exchange traded fund, you can buy derivatives. You can also start saving and investing in your bank account as well through a fixed income fund. You can invest in the global markets. You can invest in real estate. There's so many investment solutions. It just depends. What are your goals, and what is your risk appetite so that you can fit in that investment solution. Yes.
So when you're establishing this goal as a potential investor, assuming you're very new to the investment space, you have come, you've gotten a job, it's your first job, and you're thinking, I have some money I can put aside. How do you establish your goal, that process?
How do you establish your goal? You start by first asking yourself, where am I at this particular moment, yeah? And where am I is, can I be able to consolidate all my income and all my expenses, yeah? So that I understand what is my residual income that I can be able to invest and what is my net worth. Yeah, because sometimes you might be wanting to start investing, but perhaps you have too much liabilities, that is too much debt, you cannot be able to start investing immediately. So the first goal for that particular person would be, let me see how I can be able to reduce my debt, either by increasing my income or by living within my means so that I can be able to pay off my debt and then start an investment journey. Yeah. Once you have established where you are, then you can start establishing as well where you want to be in the next 5 years, in the next 1 year, in the next. So you have short-term goals, medium-term goals, and long-term goals. So in the next 1 year, where do I want to be? What do I want to have achieved? In the next 2-3 years, where do I want to be? In the next 5 years plus, where do I want to be? After you have been able to establish that, you have already written now your goals. Now you map out your goals according to the income that you have. Remember, you've already said in the next 1 year I want to perhaps pay for my school fees to do my master's. Yeah. So out of the income that I have, the residual income that I have, can I be able to pay for that school fees? If maybe the school fees is like 350,000 shillings per year, can I be able to pay with the kind of income that I have? Then you're able now to plan yourself whether you're going to be increasing your income or you're going to cut your expenses so that you can be able to achieve your goal. After you have done that, now you know this is where I am, this is where I am going, this is the path that I want to take. What investment solutions can I take that can be able to help me achieve that goal within the shortest time possible? Yeah, can I invest in a money market fund? And according to the goal, I try and understand, as an investor, I try and understand this money, if it's for school fees, I cannot risk it. I cannot put it in a risky investment. I cannot put it in the stock market, perhaps. Yeah, so I need to put it in a place where there is safety and there is liquidity. I can be able to withdraw it anytime I want, and according to the safety part, I can be able to I will get back my principal amount and maybe the return on investment. Yeah, so after that, after now you have been able to establish that, now you start learning about those investment solutions. If it's a money market fund, what is it in the money market fund? What product is a money market fund? What companies are offering money market fund? Is it regulated or is it not regulated? If I want to save in a SACCO, what SACCO am I saving into? Like, ask yourself those questions. Like, if you're, you know how 4-year-olds ask questions? Why is the tree green? Why is this tree growing here? Yeah, ask yourself those questions and ask the people who are giving you the advice for investing in a certain particular product those questions, so that you're able to understand it black and white. Yeah, there is no gray area. Then after you have understood the product, now you can be able to invest in it. Yeah, if it fits in your goals and if it fits in your risk appetite. Yeah, the risk profile that you have.
Right.
Yes.
For most of the Kenyans that we are speaking to, the median wage for most Kenyans is below 25,000 shillings. So is investment for everyone? How do you plan yourself with all the expenses that there are? You have children here, there is school fees to be paid, rent to be paid, and maybe you're earning 25,000 shillings. Can this person invest, and how can they plan themselves in a way that they actually get to secure an investment?
Everybody can invest, Betty. It's not about the money that you have. It's not how much money you're making. It's about the habits that you have when it comes to money. Even if you got 100 million and you don't have discipline and you don't have good habits for money, believe you me, it will just go away. Yeah, and that's how we've seen a lot of, maybe, let's say, athletes come, you get a windfall of cash and then it just goes. Yeah, because you don't have the good habits of investing or planning your money. So even with that 25,000, it just depends on how you plan yourself. See how much you can put in when it comes to maybe rent, if you have to pay rent, the kind of expenses that you have. Reduce them to the minimum so that you can be able to invest. Money that you have put in today will save you tomorrow, for sure. Yeah, they usually say a bird in hand is better. Yes, but is better than a bird, another one tomorrow. However, the money that you put in today will save you tomorrow. So make sure that whatever amount that you're earning, you're able to manage your expenses. If it's rent, if it's your living expenses, your wants reduce, your needs can be within the limit that is, you know, if it's rent, maybe it's 8,000 shillings, but you're putting at least 1 2% or maybe even 3% of whatever that you're earning into an investment vehicle. Yeah, if you do not have the discipline of doing it on your own, like putting money in a money market fund, join a chama. Yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot of boda guys come up and they are in a chama, and some of them contribute as little as 50 shillings on a daily basis, and they own so much. I know of a chama that started with 50 shillings. They're about 35 of them, and right now they have about 13 million that is in the money, is in a bank account that they want to invest. Yeah, they came up, they started saving a long time ago, but they do it on a daily basis. Yeah, so it's just about the discipline that you have. If you cannot be able to do it on your own, join a chama so that all of you are encouraging each other in that journey. Yes,
very important pointers there, Rosella. Of course, right now most young people are YOLOing with the, you know, with the little money that they get, and it's important to ensure that you have these habits early enough because you're preparing for retirement. Let's talk about something that you mentioned a little bit earlier about ensuring that your liabilities are not weighing you down. Many Kenyans are stuck in debt. They are borrowing here to pay here, then borrow here to pay here. How do you get out of that vicious cycle?
You call yourself into a meeting and tell yourself you have to get out of debt. Yeah, a borrower is always a slave. Yeah, so you need to be able to call yourself into a meeting and be able to manage your expenses, and every little thing that you get, it's more like paying yourself first. That's what I call it. If I get an extra 10,000 shillings, I put it out to pay the debts that I have. Yeah, and sometimes I even block, you can even block the apps. Yeah, the moment, you know, for sure, for most of us, we are already in CRB. Yeah, so what you do is, if you had borrowed and you didn't pay on time, you're on CRB, you have paid them. Of course, you can't borrow from them again. Be happy that you can borrow from them again, yeah? And move on to the next, yeah? Pay the other one. You're already on CRB, you can't borrow again. You move on to the next. That way, you're getting yourself out of debt, pole, yeah? So what you do is, you call yourself into a meeting. Write down what you owe versus what you... Write down what you owe to everybody. Yeah, plus the interest rate that is being charged on each amount. Yeah, once you have written down what you owe, you are able to understand. I owe Betty 10,000 shillings. I need to pay her within a month. I owe my bank 300,000 shillings. I need to pay them within a year. Yeah, most of the time, so that you don't also get more into debt, try and pay the minimums. Yeah. When it comes to debt, try and pay the minimums so that you don't pay too much and then you still have to borrow Peter to pay Betty again. Yeah, and next month then the cycle continues. But the moment you get out of debt once, you have paid Betty. So I have decided I'm going to start with all the small debts. I can go and negotiate with my bank and tell them, yes, I owe you 300,000. That's the much amount that, that's the most amount that I owe. I owe you 300,000, but I owe Betty 10,000 shillings. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with Betty, pay her off, and I know for sure if she's my friend, she'll never lend me again because I have overstayed with her money. Yeah? But that's it. So I will be having, the next month, I will be having an extra, out of my income, I'll be having an extra 10,000 shillings. This 10,000 shillings can pay Paul. Paul, I owed him 50,000 shillings. So Paul, now I've started paying him 10,000. It will take me 5 months. And I negotiated with my bank and told them I will take a little bit more time to pay off. Yeah, but I will be paying. Yeah, so you can be able to renegotiate your contracts when it comes to debt, and you can also be able to start paying debt from the littlest, the least possible debt to the one that is the most. Yeah, so that you don't feel the burden and you don't keep getting into debt. Yes.
Well, Rosella is just giving us very good content here. We are talking about money and how to ensure that you're disciplined in your saving, ensuring that you get the right investment option. And if you have any questions or comments to Rosella, please talk to us on Twitter. We are at KBC Channel 1. My personal Twitter handle is at Betty Kiptum. Tell us, ask your questions about money. If you're in the vicious cycle of debt, also just talk to us about your experience, and we shall be sampling some of those views as well as your questions during this particular broadcast. Of course, this is BizCheck, and we are talking about money with Rosella Ngari. She is the Chief Executive Officer at Vasili Africa. In studio, Peter Ongeti is also just standing by. He'll be joining us in a little bit to continue this conversation as well. He is the sales lead at CIC Asset Management Limited. Now, Rosella, you've talked about the vicious debt cycle and how to get out of it. Now, for some people, there's a relapse, yeah? Sometimes when you are talking about people borrowing and not paying off, there are very many friendships that have broken because of, money issues. So how do you ensure that you don't relapse into debt?
By living within your means. Most of the time, I think that's where we get it wrong. I mean, if I'm earning 50,000 shillings, I should be able to manage my living expenses within 50,000 shillings. Yeah. If I'm earning 100, manage your debt within 100,000 shillings. If I go beyond the 50,000 shillings, and sometimes, yes, life happens and you go beyond the 50,000 shillings. It means if month on month I'm going beyond the 50,000 shillings, it means I need to reevaluate my living expenses and see how I can actually be able to live within that 50,000 shillings. Yeah. The other thing is, there's a client I was talking to, and they told me they earn about 500,000 between them. Her and her husband, and their living expenses are below 100,000 shillings. I mean, it's, if you're earning above 300,000 shillings, you would want to blow up that money month on month. But it's how stringent they are when it comes to their spending. Yeah, they check their spending. They actually write down everything, every expenses that they do. Yeah. When it comes to groceries, they do bulk shopping on a month-to-month basis. Mostly they do every quarter, so that on a month-to-month basis, it's just the basic needs that are missing.
The perishables.
Yeah, the perishables that they pay. So it's your discipline when it comes to money that will make you not go back to the debt cycle. Yeah, how you manage your living expenses. It is just that, Betty, your living expenses. How you manage your living expenses. Yes.
Is it ever too early to start investing and saving as well?
No, it's not. It is not. The moment, I mean, right now we have teenagers who are trading on Forex and getting money. I mean, you give them pocket money, they trade on Forex and they're getting money. What do they do with that money? You teach them how to save. Yeah. You have young people who are in colleges who are earning much more because of content creation and all that. So it's never too early to first start earning, and it's never too early to start saving. What you do, actually, the moment you start saving, the better. The younger you are, the better you are in the long run, because of the power of compound interest. Yeah, the power of compound interest just says that maybe within about the amount of money that I have saved right now, with the return on investment, let's say it's about 8%, yeah, it will take me about 6 years for me to compound the principal amount, to double the principal amount, yeah, if I'm earning about 10%. Yes, so you just multiply the amount of money that you're saving plus times 7.2 years, and then the interest rate. It will take you about 6 years for you to compound. So you just need to, once you start early, you know for sure, my retirement will not be like my parents' retirement. Yeah, I will be having such a big principal amount in the end that I can be able to retire even earlier than the government retirement age.
Right.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much, Rosella. This conversation will be continuing in just a little bit. BizCheck takes a quick break. When we come back, more about money. Stay with us.
모르죠. 최은경이 죽었잖아요.
남북이 비밀리에 합의한 망명작전이었어.
선생님, 저 사람 저랑 어제도 싸웠어요. 너무 건강해서 고래고래 소리도 지르면서 싸웠다고요. 선생님, 저 사람 죽은 거 아니죠? 거짓말이라고 해주세요, 제발. 선생님, 제발.
놓쳤어. 당장 다른 걸 수색해.
변신의 규제시구만요.
Kiswahili kitukuzwe.
Vazi bora tunataka la heshima na nidhamu. Porojo zenu ondoa, hatutaki unafiki.
Kwamba katika kufanikiwa maishani kwa mwanadamu yategemea masomo ya mtu.
Ufanisi wa mtu unategemea masomo yake.
Ufanisi wa mtu pia hutegemea yale mazingira ambayo anaishi.
Nini maana ya kitawe?
Neno lenye maana zaidi ya moja.
Neno lenye maana zaidi ya moja. Amepata makofi kwake. Pale ambapo utapata mwanafunzi amekuibia maazimio ya kazi, utafanyaje?
Basi utatumia andao la funzo kuweza kujitayarisha kwa kile kipindi ambacho kinafuata. Shukran.
Na ya Mungu muweza wa yote, aliingia rohoni mwangu, kanipa kutulia.
Finally, you crawled out for Milishimo comedy feature.
I was dealing with some personal stuff.
Where do you think you're going?
You have to pick a winning side. Life gives you a chance, but it only comes once.
If you think I'm going to betray my family, you're mistaken.
You think Alice is trying to buy him, eh?
I know she is.
Unbelievable.
I was waiting for you.
Oh, that's sweet. My father asks if you're still considering his offer.
Do you trust Nick?
Yeah, I think I do. Why?
I thought we were on the same side. You can't keep this away from them.
You're not a Jingona, so you might pack your bags and leave us.
George's family, come on.
I will not rest until the two of you are 6 feet under.
Young musicians, they started, even the guitar was bigger than them. But when they came to master music,
decided when we come back to Kenya, we'll do our numbers. That's when we came with the Dunia ni Mambo. In fact, Dunia ni Mambo, we started putting words together and composing while we were in Zambia. Dunia ni Mambo was a hit because it was so funky. It became a household name. Everywhere you go, Mombasa, Nakuru, everybody. So this is Dunia Mambo is a very good, is a hit song. Yeah.
Sasa mimi kwa mshungi kwa mulangoni na pesa nameigua kwa nani? Pesa na mulangoni anaingiliana na mna gani?
Wewe iko mshungi au wewe iko Masai?
Did you get who is the stealing the money? Did you get him stealing the money?
It was you churabaya iko paya namna hiyo kama red alafu ingia kwa ofisi yangu.
Mimi chura, upendo sipendi.
Mimi hapa niko chura, mimi iko Sunita.
Sikiza basi nikwambie. But how much did you get there is not there?
Hiyo kama sielewi umesema nini?
Mimi inafanya kazi kwa mulangoni. Na ikifanya kazi kwa mulangoni, mulango haijaibiwa. Mimi sijaibiwa. Hakuna kitu mimi iko hapo kwa mimi imeibiwa.
Neno nitapeleka kwa koti, mheshimiwa. Wasijaribu, unanisikia mheshimiwa, ngoja niongee na mheshimiwa.
Wiki hii kwenye Mkulima tutaangazia kilimo cha uyoga.
Mushroom kwanza ni ready food. Very good for old people like me. It is very rich in protein and it is correct of you.
Kisha tuelekee jikoni tuandae kitoweo cha uyoga. Ungana nasi Jumamosi saa 10:30 hapa KBC Channel 1 kwa mseto kamili wa kilimo.
Thank you for watching KBC Channel 1. This is BizCheck. In this particular hour, we are having a conversation about money, and we are talking about choosing investment options the right way. We are talking with Rosella Ngari, who is the Chief Executive Officer at Vasili Africa, and Dr. Peter Ongeti, Sales Lead at CIC Asset Management Limited, joins us now. Welcome on set, Dr. Ongeti.
Asante sana.
Karibu sana. Just introduce yourself. Tell us what you do.
My name is Dr. Peter Ongeti. I am the sales team leader at CIC Asset Management. CIC Asset Management is a subsidiary of CIC Group. The group has 3 companies in it. So CIC General and CIC Life. The first 2 deal with all your insurance needs. Then CIC Asset Management, we purely deal with investments. So we were incorporated in 2007, but we started our operations in 2009. We have grown from leaps and bounds from 300 million of investment to currently having an asset base of 138 billion. That includes pensions and also what we call unit trusts.
Mm-hmm. Right. So you have been listening to the conversation I was having with Rosella earlier. Could you just give us your thoughts in a few minutes about investment options and choosing the right thing for you?
Investment is not a straight line, as people say. I was having a conversation, questions you were asking about, if you have 25,000, what are you supposed to do? It varies from person to person. The main thing is, what is your goal? You must have an objective to what you want to do, because you just don't step into an investment aspect of it. So perhaps your goal is to even do a wedding, for example, and you have projections of, say, 700,000. So what do you need to achieve that within maybe your time frame? So are you looking at short-term or long-term investment? So that will be able to guide on which investment you are able to take.
Mm-hmm. Could you give us investment options that you maybe deal in on a daily basis, and how you have seen the uptake coming along, and maybe what the public need to know about these investment options?
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. We at CIC Asset Management have a wide range of investment opportunities. When we talk about unit trust, first of all, unit trust is whereby you professionals are there. In our case, we have custodians who are cooperative bank. We have the trustee, who is the legal owner of the trust. We have ourselves, CIC Asset Management. We like coining and referring ourselves to a SICAM, who do the actual management of funds, and of course then we have an investor. So all this is based on trust, basically. So you as an investor trust us with your money, and then we can be able to invest. Now under unit trust, we have various products, one of it being the money market, which will allow you to put in funds as little as 5,000. Maximum is whatever God has blessed you with. I mean, all of us are blessed differently. Then you can be able to earn interest every single day, This includes even a weekend. You can be able to withdraw money at any time. That is one of the salient feature of money market. It gives you that opportunity of withdrawing money at any time, whether partially or whole. Because we are in an age of transparency, we have to send you a statement every month, which will show you how your investment is doing. So you can be able to follow track, and of course we have to be there with you so that we can be able to guide you and ask questions if you have questions, and we can always review on what is happening. Another product that we have is the equity fund. Now again, this is what we call a high-risk product, because investments are done in the Nairobi Securities Exchange. So depending on, again, if you are an investor who is a risk taker, then it is prudent for you then again to invest through us at KBC Asset Management. One, because we will be diversifying your investment among several other counters in the Nairobi Securities Exchange. But as I said, it's a high-risk investment, so we will have to sit down with you and go through quite a number of things before we onboard you to it.
All right.
Currently, again, the talk is bonds. So for those who are interested in bonds, again, we have you covered. We have a fixed income fund for you, and we can be able to take you through that.
Right.
Not forgetting the dollar fund,
right.
obviously.
Right. When you're talking about all these investment options, of course, Rosella had also mentioned quite a number of them. The complexity, there are some that are very complex for people to understand, and others that are much easier for people to understand. So I think let's now talk about ensuring that you don't fall for con men or con artists, so to say, because many people have been promised, you know, very high percentage returns, and at the end of the day their money just goes down the drain. How do you ensure that you're protecting yourself from con artists when it comes to investment options? I'll start with you, Rosella.
All right. As I had said earlier, you just need to first understand it in black and white as yourself, not ask those questions that you want to ask, like you're a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old. Ask those questions to the people who are selling you the product, yeah? If by any chance you do not understand it, and if you feel there's a gray area somewhere, don't invest, yeah? Only invest in something that you totally understand. Yeah, and if you're being sold by maybe a salesperson, try and see whether you can find people also who've invested in the same product, how they're finding it, and all that. And start understanding also with the background of the company. Start asking the questions of when was the company founded, who are the founders, what do they invest in, who are the shareholders as well. How long have they been in the market? What is the projection of them growing? Where else are they, if they're just in Nairobi, where else can they be? Are they in other towns or something of the sort? This applies to every investment product that you can invest in, yeah? Because most of us, and unfortunately, most of us are usually women who fall for pyramid schemes, because we run for... Betty told me that she has put some money somewhere and she got double the amount here. Yeah. So I will run to that same investment and maybe drag someone else. What Betty has not told me is, where are these people? Where have they invested and all that? And always try and understand the past of the company. Do not go in blindly. Ask those questions like you're a 5-year-old, as we said earlier, yeah? So that ni wewe mwenyewe unaelewa, you're the one who is understanding, and not somebody else understanding that product for you. And if you do not understand, do not invest. Something I don't understand myself, and I never advise my clients, and I always tell them I don't understand it, I don't understand how it works, is something like cryptocurrency. I don't understand it, so I don't advise and I don't invest in it. Yes. Right.
Dr. Ongeti, do you have any tips in terms of due diligence to add on what Rosella said?
Yeah, thank you for that question. And it's interesting that she's even talked about Ponzi schemes. We remember in this country, we had something called people were investigating quells and things like those ones. And I'm sure, schemes that people came out crying. One of the things that we do and we advise our investors is, before you look at that thing called return, because unfortunately in this country it's the first thing that people ask, what am I getting? What am I getting? But you're not asking yourself a simple question. First of all, why do I need to invest? Do I really need to invest in the first place? Where am I investing? For how long? So that we then look at your time horizon. You want to invest for how long? Is it legal? The legality of the thing that you want to invest in, is it legal? What are the tax implications of this investment that you want to undertake, first of all? Yeah? And then the last thing that now perhaps you might consider after you have looked at the legality and the security of your fund is maybe you might ask about the return, because there's something called risk. And this risk, the higher the return that somebody might put out, it simply implies that there's a risk that is taken. So if this risk is not within your realm, then you might quite as well as avoid it. If you see this investment is not regulated by anybody, any government institution is not looking at it in terms of regulatory framework, then we would advise that you stay away from it.
Very important pointers there. Technology has come in a very strong way. People are investing online. Some people don't even have to, I don't have to come to an office for us to discuss these things, and we end up investing. Of course, there are safe channels of doing it and there are unsafe channels of doing it. Rose, could you just take us through how technology has changed the investment space?
I mean, let's start with the regulated space, actually.
Okay.
Companies like CIC, companies like Zimele Management, Asset Management Company have online platforms where you can actually upload your documents, fill in the application form, upload your documents, and you are able to invest. Once they open the account for you, you're able to invest. Yeah, you don't have to go to the office to do all that. You don't have to fill in a physical form to do all that. For me, that's innovation on its own. Yeah, when it comes to statements, you just need to log in onto your client portal and you're able to see your statement, and every end month they send you the statement. You don't have, if it comes to withdrawals, you just need to go to the client portal as well. You just do the withdrawal form there, fill in the withdrawal form, they confirm, and then they send you the money. Yeah. So when it comes to innovation, and with that as well, there have come a lot of savings apps that are there in the market. Yeah, there is Chums, there is Ndovu, and all that. So with that, you need to understand who are the proposers of this innovation, who are the proposers of this digital space here. Where is the money going to when it's invested? If it's like the savings apps, where is the money going to when I put in my money there, so that they can give me the same thing that Peter has said, so that they can give me that maybe 8%, 9% return. Who are they investing in, or who are they investing for, so that I can be able to get that return? Yeah. Understand as well, apart from the regularity of it all, you also understand how can I be able to withdraw this money, or how liquid is this product, or how can I be able to go into my app and withdraw this money into my phone. Yeah. So the first thing is, who is this company that is proposing an innovation? The second, what is the underlying asset class, or what is the underlying investment company that is behind them, so that they can be able to give me that return. And if I want my money back, how can I be able to get it back within the shortest time possible? As well, understand what are the charges that they have when it comes to that kind of product. Because there's some savings product will tell you, yes, we are giving 9%, but there's a management fee of maybe 2%, 3%, yeah, and maybe a money market fund directly with perhaps like CIC is giving a return of 9%, and this savings product is giving you a return of 8% and plus a management fee. So they are deducting from you, yet you can go to CIC itself and actually invest directly and still be able to manage your investment through an online platform. Yeah, so you have to understand if you have to also check the company that you're investing in. If it's a fund management company that offers the unit trust, like the money market funds, do they have their own app? If they have their own app, why do I need another app to go through their app? Yes.
Right. Dr. Ongeti, I see you nodding very in agreement here with what Rose is saying. Do you have more to add on the issue of technology and investment?
Thank you for that question. I was nodding because she's saying good things about CIC asset management, which I think is a market leader, and it's a very good thing. And we keep up with the trends in the market. Everyone is going digital at the moment, and we have taken up the space as market leaders, so that one, we can make it easy for our clients to access our services, and also to onboard. Even those who are in the diaspora can now be able to invest. Remember, it is one of the objectives of this government to be able to push for savings and investments.
Okay. Dr. Ongeti, allow me to cut you short a little bit. I'm informed that we need to take our viewer to KICC, where there's an ongoing media tour by the Environment Cabinet Secretary, that's Soipan Tuya, as well as the Chief of Defense Forces, that is General Francis Ogola. Let's listen into that.
Early anticipated that we would have 10,000, but going by what we are seeing, we are going to surpass that target. And I'm happy to say that with the setup that is coming up here at KICC, we should be able to accommodate those numbers. We have a number of confirmed heads of state, totaling to about 13 so far. And we are also expecting and have received many high-level dignitaries and heads of international organizations and financial institutions, in addition to representatives from academia, researchers, civil society, women and youth from across the world. So we are really bringing the world to Nairobi to have a discussion on climate action. The preparations are in high gear, and the interest by different stakeholder groups has met and exceeded our expectations. We have received so far more than 550 applications for side events, again from across the globe. And the process of processing and shortlisting these applications and ongoing for the necessary scheduling. We also formally issued a call on applications for exhibitions on the Africa Climate Summit website, and the vetting and confirmations for these are also going on. You have all witnessed this morning the work that is ongoing in getting this venue ready, and again is to thank the KDF under the command of the command of General Francis Ogola for tirelessly working round the clock to ensure the venue is in good shape. Indeed, after our tour this morning, we can attest the touch on the works is being done with actually military precision, as always expected from our members of the disciplined forces, and we are grateful for this support. We can only look forward to the handover date, which, as I have said, is the 20th of August.
That is the Cabinet Secretary in charge of Environment taking a tour of the KICC, which is under refurbishment ahead of the Africa Climate Summit that is taking place next month. Of course, our crew is on site. They shall be filing that story for you a little bit later. But now we want to go to Caroline Njenga, who is with the Housing Cabinet Secretary, to give us an update on matters affordable housing. Caroline Njenga, take it away.
Thank you, Betty Kiptum, right here from Arthi House as we get to discuss about the affordable housing program. Remember, this is a program that is in the heart of President William Ruto, and he has been working towards ensuring that the country achieves affordable housing across the country. Remember, in the last 2 weeks, he has been going around the country launching affordable housing programs. We saw one in Thika, where he launched a big project there, and we saw another one in Kerugoya. And these are part of the projects that the government is working towards ensuring that Kenyans have a roof over their heads. And to expound more on this, I am joined by the Cabinet Secretary for Lands and Housing, that is Zachariah Njiru, to talk to us about the update and the progress of the construction of the affordable housing program. Thank you for joining us, sir. Maybe you can give us an update on the construction of the affordable housing program, where we at as a country, and also talk a little bit about the legacy projects that were there previously.
Thank you very much. We all know that affordable housing program is a key agenda in this current administration, and His Excellency the President is key to make sure that this program works well. Previously, there were projects that had been started in the previous government, and now we want to make sure that they are all completed. In the current administration, we have several projects going on across the country. We have one going on and doing very well in Homa Bay. We have one in Nakuru. We have one here. We have several here in Nairobi. We have Mavoko. We have Starehe. We have Shauri Moyo A. And today we will be signing with the contractor that is Higher Services Limited for the Shauri Moyo B. We also have one in Ruiru, and as you've well mentioned, in the last four days, we launched one in Kerugoya and one in Thika yesterday. So these are programs that is going on very well, and we also want to build 200 units in every constituencies. Already we have started advertising. We advertised 29, and as we are speaking, 12 of them have already been awarded. So we are up to it, and I can assure you that soon our country will be a beehive of construction. One thing also we should note, apart from the four walls and the roof, we'll also be creating jobs to our young men and women, and also assisting the MSMEs to have a market for what the 69, we ring-fenced 69 components, building components that will be supplied by the SMEs and the Juakalis, and that way we'll be creating a lot of jobs to our young people, as promised by His Excellency the President.
You talked about around 48,000 houses under construction. I'd like you to categorize them according to the various people.
Yes, last week we did advertise several projects. We advertised affordable housing programs that projects that will have 6,890 units. For the GSU, that's the uniformed forces, we advertised 11,785 units. For the police, we advertised over 21,692, and also we've realized our students live in insecure areas, and therefore we have purposed to make sure that we also build hostels for our students. And within the same week, we advertised for 8,000 hostels. So, and we will still going to advertise for more.
Okay. Yes. The project that you've just launched, the Shauri Moyo B project, I'd like you to give us the cost estimate and also in terms of the number of houses that will be constructed.
Right. For the Shauri Moyo B, we are going to have a total of 4,566 units, and the project will cost 18 billion, over 18 billion. So 18 billion 320 million. Yeah, so it will be a huge project, and within that project, we're going to have a social hall. We're going to upgrade nearby schools. Actually, we are going to a nearby school. We'll have commercial centers. We have a playground for our children, parking slots, which will be 1,672. And also we will green the area. We'll plant trees to make sure that that area is environmentally friendly.
And this project will kick off immediately?
Yes, it's actually after signing today, I believe by tomorrow or soonest possible, they'll be there. The project will be in 3 phases, and the total completion will be 4 years.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much, the CS. If I may bring in the PS, please, Charles Hinger. Kindly, I would like him to talk a little bit about the contentious issue about the housing levy. I know most Kenyans are worried about this bill and how it's going to be backdated. I'd like him to speak a little bit about this. PS, thank you for joining us. Talk to us about this housing levy, and Kenyans out there are pessimistic about this housing. Tell us why we need to have this levy as a country.
All these projects, the 18 billion, the over 70 billion that is already under construction, this is money that is coming from investors. And the investors are there and want to be reassured that there will be money when the units are completed to offtake the units. Now, the people that we are focused on so that they can be able to get these homes may not be as attractive to the investors because of the low incomes. That is why between the low income earner and the investor, you have a fund. It's as simple as that. So the fund offtakes. Then we enter into a very long-term agreement with the low-income earners where they can pay based on the size of their pocket, right? So that is really the essence of the fund. You know, there's so much kizungu here and there, but in short, that's what the fund is all about. It's an offtake. 18 billion, for them, they will build very fast. They want to make sure that when they build, there is money that is available to buy those houses. Then when the houses are handed over to us, we have a very fair process. And I hope Kenyans are, as pessimistic as you are, please don't forget to register and apply for these units because they're yours. And sooner than later, you will be living in your own decent home. That is what this is all about.
Okay. I'd like you to clarify on the Kenyans who, there's various people who are saying that it will only the people who are earning less than 150,000 are the ones who are going to get
that's no longer the case.
Houses.
That's no longer the case. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the case?
It's one ID, one house.
Okay.
Simple as that.
Okay. Well, thank you. That has been the PS. Charles Singer speaking to us about the housing levy. And I hope you've heard it from him, from his mouth, saying that this is a program that will benefit all of us since it will also constructing low-cost housing across the country. That has also earlier on has been the CS for lands. That is Zakaria Njeru talking to us about the affordable housing program and the rollout of the Shauri Moyo B project right here in Nairobi. Back to you in studio.
Thank you very much, Wairimu Njenga there, just bringing us the latest on matters affordable housing. And of course, as the PS has said, despite all the uproar against the housing levy, do not forget to register, because when the time comes that those houses are up, you want to be ready to own your own house. Well, we get back to the conversation here in studio. We are talking about matters money and investment options. And before we went on those live links, we were talking about matters technology and innovation uptake in the investment industry. Dr. Ongeti, please continue.
Thank you again for the opportunity. We were talking about us being in touch with what is happening in the world and also in the digital space. At CIC Asset Management, we have made it possible for any client anywhere to be able to be onboarded at their comfort, as long as they can be able to have access to internet, they can be able to onboard. We have a portal, and we have also forms that are available. One can fill even on their forms. We have an app that Rosa here spoke about, that will allow you to do all the services, if it is adding money into your investment, if it is making withdrawals, if it is checking your balances and statements. Our CIC Asset Management app is able to do all that. And that's just to show where the trends are going in the market, and also keeping in touch with the happenings around.
Right, Rose, you seem to have more you want to say about technology, please.
Yes, I mean, just recently we have seen even the CBK launch their app, which is called the DAO, where you can be able to fill in your, actually open your CDS account and be able to trade in bonds without having to go to brokers and without having to go to your bank to open a CDS account and having to go to CBK itself to fill in the application forms. It just shows how much now we have adapted technology and digitization in the investment space. Yes.
Right, very important there. And of course, that process was quite tedious, having to go to CBK, get those forms. It's a good thing that eventually they have, you know, hopped on. Right, so clients are happy?
Oh, they are. They are. I mean, I just opened my CDS account for a client when we were seated with her yesterday.
Nice, very nice. That is good to hear. When we are talking about all this, right now there are a lot of risks in the economy. The economy is not doing well, both globally and locally. So how can someone protect their income sources, so to say?
Okay.
Yeah, let's start with Dr. Ongeti.
Thank you for that question. I think as a fund management company, the key thing that we focus on at CIC Asset Management is safety of funds. As you have heard the numbers that we are talking about in terms of volume and the market share that we control, it essentially means clients have trust in us. So for us to continue, we have to ensure that their funds and their money are always safe. That's why we put safety of clients' funds first before anything else. So we have a research team that looks at where do we do investments, what we call the Camel approach. You know, Camel has the thing in Kiswahili we call Nundu.
The hub.
So the hub, yes. So we have even to look inside that hub. What is inside there? Who sits where, in which board, and who makes what decisions before we give funds somewhere else. And the key thing here is that when a client is requesting for the funds back, we have to ensure that client either gets that money same day or the following day. Yeah. So it essentially means where we put these monies have to be in a very, very secure place, first of all. That's why I said Kenyans look at the return rather than safety first, because this is a key thing moving forward to these investments that are happening in the country. Yeah.
Rose?
I mean, you are talking as a fund manager. I will talk as a client. I will speak for the clients. The first thing that we usually look at when we are advising our clients, or me as a client when I'm starting to invest, is there's, as you said, there's a lot of risk that is coming from the investments. Yeah, is this investment safe? Yes. Is the company well regulated? Does it have a good client base and all that? The second thing that I look at is, in terms of the return, is the return giving me higher than the inflation rate, at least? Yeah. I mean, if right now the inflation rate is about 9%, I should be having an account that is giving me about 10%, at least nipate that 1% on top, so that I don't feel like my money is being eroded. Yeah. The government bonds currently are like a 5-year bond is at 16.84%. The government T-bills, which are short-term, that is 3 months, 6 months and 1 year, are between 12.6% and 13%. Yeah, so I should be able to feel like any of my investments, whether it's in a money market fund, whether it's in a savings account in a bank, is giving me just above inflation, so that my money is not being eroded by inflation. So that is putting away some point of risks, because the 1,000 shillings that you had last year, I mean, this year it's worth about 500 shillings when you go to the supermarket. Yeah. The other thing is, as we said, make sure that this company is well regulated and they have structures in case anything is going to happen to them, like for fund managers. In case a fund manager is not able to perform the way it's supposed to perform, there are structures where there is a custodian, there is the regulator, which is Capital Markets Authority, where there is a trustee, and they can be able to resolve so that you get your money back. Yes.
Right. So as we come to a close of the conversation, I would like you to speak to a person who is thinking about investing. Yeah. Just run them through what maybe 5 pointers that they need to have in mind before they start investing. I think I'll start with you, Dr.
Thank you for that opportunity again. Just to, before I close on that, just to add what Rosa was also talking about, rates and return and what you look at into the market. Yes, it's important to look at, again, the rate, but we always say, of course, you are investing so that you get something out of it. But also don't take too much risk that you end up burning your own finger. At the same time, she points out something right. 1,000 yesterday is not today. We're reminded that in 1975, a car used to cost 5,000 shillings. Today, 5,000 shillings cannot even afford you a good shoe. So time value of money is very important. So don't store your money where it is not earning you. Remember, if as of July the inflationary rate is at 7.3, then your money is wasting away at that rate when it is not earning you something. So it is critical for you to invest somewhere where it's earning above the inflationary rate. Now, going to what I will advise our listeners and our viewers there, just as I've said, don't keep monies where it's not earning you anything. And for the industry, because we are looking at 4.1 trillion that is just lying in savings account and maybe current account, and those funds are being wiped away by inflation. Why not try investing in unit trust, say money market, where you can have access to your funds, but it is earning you something above what the inflation is giving, and also wiping inflation out of your funds.
Right. Rose?
I think I would say start from where you are. Start with what you have, understand where you want to go, and let that be your driving force. There wouldn't be 5 points, Betty, but it will actually be, it will help you plan on what you want to achieve. Because once you understand where you are, where you want to be, you have set out your goal, and you know that I have at least 5,000 shillings that I can invest. Let me start investing, or let me start saving with that 5,000 shillings. Another important thing is always try and have an emergency fund that can save you tomorrow from any unseen circumstances that happen. Always try and have at least an emergency fund. Sometimes we say 3 to 6 months of your living expenses, but this is Kenya. Sometimes you're not able to achieve that, but keep at least 5,000 shillings, 10,000 shillings somewhere that you can be able to access in case anything was to happen, and it does not drive you into a debt cycle. If you're in debt, try as much as possible to get out of debt by paying off the little debts that you have to the most debt that you have, so that you don't keep getting into the same cycle. If you are earning, if you're a low income earner, get into a chama that can motivate you to start your saving journey. And there's so many products, as we said. There are money market funds that can take from as little as 5,000 shillings. There are some that take as little as 100 shillings and can earn you a return of about 10% per annum. Yes. Right. So as these are your closing remarks. I'm requesting you for 30 seconds each of you. Just give me your closing remarks. What does the future look like? Start with you.
That's a good question. Somebody said, who knows about the future? But I think for us, the future is bright and where we headed to. I think looking at the trends in the market that are happening, people are now starting to understand what unit trusts are all about. And we also thank you for this platform, because we are also able to reach many more people who are not even aware about it, so that they can also be able to benefit. So looking at the future is CIC Asset Management.
I like that. Marketing at its best. Yourself?
What does the future look like? I think as long as I live to educate people on the financial, for people to be financially aware, and to educate them on the investment products that are there. I think it's been a journey to look at the past first and then to look at the future. I mean, currently we have about 38% of the Kenyan population that is financially literate. We want to see at least get to 50% in the next 2 years, 3 years. At least the government is helping with that as well. And then we get to 75% and 100% financially literate people.
Yes, that is the goal, right?
That is the goal.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you very much for speaking with us.
Thank you.
We have been talking about matters money, choosing the right investment option. We hope that you have learned something from this conversation. If you are in that vicious cycle of debt, we hope that you have a plan of getting out of it. And if you want to invest, you have had some investment options that can work for you. Remember, always knowledge is power. Make sure you know the most out of that investment option before you putting your money in it. I have been talking with Rosella Ngari. She's the Chief Executive Officer at Vasili Africa, as well as Dr. Peter Ongeti, Sales Lead at CIC Asset Management Limited. And that is where we end the first conversation this morning. When we come back, a conversation about music, the music industry. Where is it? Where is it headed? That conversation will be happening with Dr. Ezekiel Mutua, the CEO of Music Copyright Society of Kenya. BizCheck takes a quick break. See you in a bit.
You've poured out your spirit on every heart.
Sasa katika ile mahali pale sijui ni nini lilimaliza nguvu
katika hali ya miguu zangu, nikasikia hazitaki kutembea kabisa. Ndio nikaanza sasa kutambaa tu hivyo, nikienda pole pole, lakini nasikia miguu kabisa kwamba haziendi.
Kwa hivyo haukuona content ambayo ilikuwa ndani ya
sikuona, lakini niliona tu ile ambayo kwamba sasa niliona tu ni vile amebeba nyungu, alafu na akiwa uchi, kwa sababu unajua aliponipatia shindano alikuwa na nguo.
Wakati watu wanaenda kwa waganga, ni tambiko gani ambazo zinafanyika huko? Ni nini waganga hufanyia mtu?
Kesho ni safari na nipo njiani, siwezi nikiwa solo, hata nifuate ramani.
In the beginning, there was the Word. Then there was the light, and the world was revealed. With his gifts, war, love, power, death, faith. First chapter of the first book of World will be open again. Genesis.
She hasn't just taken this title, she's absolutely obliterated the whole field. 3:52.96.
It's a big stage, big names and big expectations, and a massive celebration of athleticism. More than 2,000 athletes from over 200 countries will compete in 49 events, drawing inspiration from past memorable outings. Team Kenya is looking ahead for a remarkable feat in the forthcoming World Athletics Championship in Budapest, Hungary, in Central Europe. Witness the wonders from Budapest, Hungary on 19th through to the 27th of August, live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Kwa mshungi kwa mlangoni na pesa ameigua kwa ndani, pesa na mlangoni anaingiliana na namna gani?
Wewe iko mshungi au wewe iko Masai?
Did you get who is the stealing the money? Did you get him stealing the money?
It was you, chura baya, iko paya namna hiyo kama red, alafu ingia kwa ofisi yangu.
Ni chura, upendo sipende.
Mimi hapa niko chura, mimi iko Sunita.
Sikiza basi nikwambie. But how much did you get there is not there?
Hiyo hata mimi sielewi umesema nini?
Mimi inafanya kazi kwa mlangoni. Na ikifanya kazi kwa mlangoni, mlango haijaibiwa. Mimi sijaibiwa. Hakuna kitu mimi hapo kwa mimi imeibiwa.
Neno nitapeleka kwa koti, mheshimiwa. Wasijaribu, unanisikia mheshimiwa, ngoja niongee mheshimiwa.
Thank you very much for staying with KBC Channel 1. This is BizCheck, and we want to get into our next conversation about matters music, the music industry. This particular industry is pretty big in the world, of course, but in Kenya it is just blooming. So to have this conversation is Dr. Ezekiel Mutua, the Chief Executive Officer at the Music Copyright Society of Kenya. Thank you very much for joining us, Dr.
Thank you, Betty. Thank you for having me.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
Where are we? Where are we right now?
We're in a good place. We're in a good place because I think the story of the music industry in Kenya has been very depressing. The suffering of musicians, the lack of appreciation, the lack of proper legislative framework to support the business of music. That has been the story. The poor payment of royalties, the management of CMOs. The story has been always negative. Nobody has ever said anything good about the music industry in the past.
Right.
But right now, we're in a good place. We're in a good place because we have the legislative framework in place. We have the new tariffs that have been gazetted by the CS for youth affairs and the arts and the sports. We have a very new and critical revenue stream called the blank tape levy or private copying, as it were.
Okay.
Which is going to bring a lot of money. In the past, the CMOs have been relying on collecting money from restaurants, from salons, from streams that do not bring a lot of money. And with the economy since COVID-19, with the businesses being affected, a lot of them were not able to pay as they should. And then we didn't have the new tariffs. Now we are identifying new streams that can bring a lot of money, because you can't enrich musicians and resolve their issues through monies from Kinyozi and those small revenue streams.
Okay.
You need to look at technology. The future lies with the IT. The future lies in technology, and appropriate the streams that are available to monetize music. That's what we are doing. So the blank tape levy, which is a fee charged on gadgets that are entering at the port of entry or the first port of trade coming to Kenya, they are charged a small fee, any gadget that has capacity to record music or to do copying. And that money, we are estimating in a year we can raise about 6 billion.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
On average, we have been raising about 200 million per year. If you divide by the 3 CMOs, for example, MCSK is the biggest, gets 54%. If you get 54% of 200 million, it is 108 million per year. Divide by 12, it's about 9 million.
Okay.
Nothing to write home about.
Okay.
Because if you have to remove administrative costs and all that, and most of the times because of COVID, and that the time we were not collecting, there were a lot of debts that were that were incurred that time. So if you look at it and you're paying debts, you're paying KRA, some arrears that were not paid in the right time, you end up with about 4-5 million, really, which is only enough for administrative costs.
Right.
But right now, if you're talking about 600 billion, even if we were to raise 2 billion, I don't know what percentage from 200 million that is, but I can tell you it resolves the problem of musicians almost instantly.
Right.
Why? Because we have got political will, we have the legislative framework, and yesterday, the Kenya Revenue Authority wrote to the Kenya Corporate Board issuing the HS codes, which are synchronizing now the collection of this money. We have been going through training at Safari Park. The key people are going to be operationalizing this system with the Ken Trade to ensure that they know how it will work. In other words, when I say we're in a good place, we really are in a good place. Sio stories are Java. These are real. These are real stories. Yes.
All right. Daktari, before we even get into the future, it never made sense for Kenyans when musicians like Sauti Sol, who get quite some airplay in this country, are posting that they received 1,400 or some very low earnings from the society.
Yes.
Could you just help Kenyans understand how this happened and how it's going to change moving forward?
One of the greatest challenges that we have been facing is the lack of awareness on how music business works.
Okay.
For example, those kind of postings were not doing any good because they were based on ignorance, lack of understanding, or now the music business works. Okay? Because the revenue stream that they were posting is probably the income number 7 in their music business. So they post income number 7. What about 1, 2, up to 4? I mean up to 6. Because you don't rely on just that kind of stream. The ecosystem of music, because it's an ecosystem, if it doesn't work seamlessly, you can't blame one stream and say music is not working. No. If music is going to work, the musicians themselves, the artists, must produce quality music. They must be able to market it. They must be able to use technology to monetize their content and make money out of it. They must be performing in public places and being paid, for their own personal brand and their own marketability and the quality of the music and the audiences that they have. So it is not true that they were getting 600. No, it's a lie, actually, if you want me to call it so, because it is the ecosystem. If the CMOs do not have licenses, which is the work of government, if the CMOs do not have enforcement of the law, which is even a constitutional imperative that is supposed to be enforced by the government, Section 40 of the Constitution says the government or the state has an obligation to protect the intellectual property of its citizens. So if the government does not provide police to fight piracy. And the South Source music is being pirated online and everywhere. It is being played in matatus and nobody is paying them. And then you blame the CMOs. I think it is a fallacy that has been sold, and because they didn't care to understand how music business works, they sold that fallacy for so long that people thought CMOs are the problem. They were not the problem. Now we have a license. Now we have new tariffs. Remember, by the way, in 2019, music tariffs were lowered by 90% by the government. A government that claims that it cares for musicians did that kind of thing. And South Sudan never raised a voice. So when you post 600, but you can't fight when the value of your music in the market has been lowered, what do you call that? Lack of understanding, or malice, if you wanted me to call it so. Now we have streamlined, and I think that's where business starts. Until you start treating music as business, copyright as business, and understand how it works, both from the creator to the government, to the CMOs, to the consumers of the music, then we're not going to have profitability in this market. My work since I joined a year ago now has been to create a seamless or cohesion among the different stakeholders, including government, to ensure that government plays its role. And what is the role of the government? To ensure legislative framework, create a conducive environment, fight piracy, protect intellectual property, issue licenses to CMOs. The work of government to be done and be done on time. They used to issue a license for 1 year. Now we are fighting that. In fact, yesterday we were trying to have a conversation to change the law so that at least you get the license for 3 years. Because if you're to do a business plan, because if you treat music as business, then it has to work the way other businesses work. It cannot be abracadabra and expect that there will be results. So we are changing the law now to have the licenses for 3 years. If the government does that, which is its part, then CMOs streamline their operations and apply technology to minimize on costs of operations. Okay. Because a lot of money, again, has been going to administrative costs, Betty. If you raise 5 million and you have 200 employees, you will obviously not have much money to distribute. Okay. So we're also streamlining to deploy technology to ensure that we maximize on distribution. All right, and then lastly, we are creating awareness. The story of music is a good story. Can't just have this depressing complaints and whining. There must be a good story. The good story is we are identifying new streams of revenue. We are bringing a new conversation where musicians are recognized and respected. That a Kenyan musician will be respected, like in the US. Okay. Some of the richest people in the world, bet you know, they're musicians. They're musicians. If you Google the top 20 musicians in the US, they're billionaires.
Yes. Of course.
Jay-Z the other day bought a house, the second most expensive house in the US. By a musician. We want our artists to get there. Our artists can get there, and they cannot get there when the ecosystem works seamlessly. You can't have the CMOs aside and say they have to blame. No, the government must do its work. Consumers of music must pay. Okay. Broadcasters, and they allow me to say this. No, just one second. Just one second, Daktari. Yes. We will get to you in a little bit. I would like to take our viewer to the Senate committee is meeting the CS, the Cabinet Secretary in charge of Health, Susan Nakumicha. They are addressing concerns on equitable placement of applicants across various regions in Kenya Medical Training College institutions. Of course, that particular story is coming to us from Senate. Let's listen in to that. The National Assembly, rather. Let's listen in.
Could give them because Honorable Ronnie are repeating what the Vice Chair said, and everybody has asked questions. I would want to give the CS and the CEO to respond to the questions you've raised. Then if you still want to have supplementary questions to ask, I'll give you the opportunity. CS Health.
Thank you very much, Chair and honorable members. I will respond to the questions that I have answers to, and overally, then I believe the CEO will respond to the other questions. Where I would like to begin, Chair and honorable members, would want to know what was the genesis or what informed this decision. Chair and honorable members, my responsibilities is to advise His Excellency the President on matters of health. So I went to appraise the President on the difficulties that he was having
The health CS there, Susan Nakumicha, is addressing some concerns about placement of students at KMTC institutions in front of the health committee at the National Assembly. We apologize for that technical hitch. We hope that we can get that a little bit later. But now we want to go to the KICC, where Teresa Mutai is standing by to give us the latest on the refurbishment of KICC ahead of the Africa Climate Summit that is slated for next month. Teresa, if you can hear me, go ahead, please.
Hello, Betty Kiptum. We are coming to you live from Kenya International Conference Center, where it's undergoing a major refurbishment, since it will be the venue for the Africa Climate Summit that will be hosted in September. Earlier on, the CS Soipantuya was here for the CS for Environment, Climate Change, Ministry of Environment and Climate Change, was here for a tour. And we've been told that perhaps by Monday, all the banging and hammering that is currently ongoing will be done and cleaning will start, so that by 20th of this month, the Ministry of Environment can take over the venue so that all preparations can start by then. So if my camera person, Lugusa, can pan, you can see there's really a lot of work ongoing behind me. There's so much that we cannot show you inside the KICC, but we've had the opportunity of walking around inside KICC, just having a view and a look of how it is and what they are doing. So yeah, currently you can see the men behind me. Those are the conference halls that will be used. They've said that they are expecting at least 20,000 people, and they are very confident that the venue will be able to host 20,000 people. Yes. And Soipantu has mentioned that they are expecting 13 head of states who have already confirmed, but due to national security, they did not mention who. Of course, we would like to know, but right now we do not have that full detail. But yes, the work is ongoing at KICC. We will be telling you more in our subsequent bulletin, but for now, back to you in studio. My name is Teresa Mutai. Sorry.
Thank you very much, Teresa Mutai. Quite a hearty link there from you. Of course, that Africa Climate Summit is going to bring together delegates from across Africa. Africa being the one that is feeling the biggest impact of climate change and having one voice ahead of the global summits of climate is very important. So that particular summit will be very instrumental in ensuring that Africa has one voice on what it wants the rest of the world to do on matters climate change, and just to come up with ways of ensuring resilience, especially in matters agriculture, which is the mainstay for most of Africa's population. Of course, Teresa Mutai will be on that bit all through to the climate summit, and she shall be updating you in subsequent bulletins. We come back to studio. We are talking about matters music, and Dr. Ezekiel Mutua, the Chief Executive in charge of the Music Copyright Society of Kenya, is with me in studio, and he was saying that the future is bright and the future is now.
Absolutely.
Right, Daktari.
Yes.
So as you were talking about streamlining issues.
Yes.
Could you just give us a comparison in terms of how musicians like, Jay-Z, such people in those markets, the artists in those markets get to earn a lot from royalties, and it's not happening in this other side of the world? Where is the disconnect and what is being done?
Like I said, it's the ecosystem that the government has streamlined the revenue streams, and people pay. There's also the willingness for consumers of music to pay. In Kenya, I think, compliance to the law is not easy unless there is police to enforce. In the US, and I've been there, if you commit a traffic offense, the policeman leaves just a ticket on your car, and you know the consequences. You'll have to go somewhere and pay. If you don't pay and you're ticketed again, it becomes a big issue. Eventually, they can even cripple your entire banking system and everything. They obey the law because they know it is the right thing to do. In Kenya, consumers of music have a challenge. people, if they end up free will, they would never pay for music. They don't consider it as a consumable product. They think it is just a hobby. Musicians music is just a sideshow, and they don't pay for it. People go to a hotel, they order for tea, they order for mandazi and whatever else. They pay as they listen to nice music. They go to clubs, they pay for the drinks and everything, but they don't consider the music. And those are the revenue streams that bring money. So in those markets, big markets like in the US, in the UK, in France, everywhere, they have sensitized the consumers of music to know that music is also a consumable product, and you pay for it. When you go to a place where music is being played and you're entertained, you pay for it. If you're playing music in your car, in your studio, you pay for it, because you can't run, programs without music. There will be some music at the end of the day. You can't run businesses, for example, the public service transport, without music. All those places or revenue streams are sensitized. The owners of those businesses, they pay. So you don't have to deploy a lot of police or employ a lot of people to go collecting. So it comes seamlessly, and it comes without having to use enforcement or to use force to get the money. Mm-hmm. So that's how far they have gone. And this is the culture we want to create in Kenya. It has to be a change of attitude, a change of culture, an appreciation of music. And the beauty of it is that right now, a lot of young people, including kids of very big people, are getting into music. And they are seeing what Jay-Z is doing and what Beyonce is doing and what, all those musicians in the big jurisdictions are doing in terms of the money they make out of music. Rihanna is in her early 30s. I think she's worth $1.6 billion at the moment. Big money. Those guys don't go complaining anywhere. They have the money because the government has streamlined the ecosystem, and therefore they are able to make their money as they sleep. Now we have an advantage here in Kenya because we are tech savvy. Our youths are able to use technology. They are able to apply their trade online. And I think the moment we get the legislative framework in place that focuses on digitizing or monetizing money in the digital platforms, on YouTube, on TikTok, and all those platforms, there'll be a lot of turnaround. And this is what we are looking at. So my work as the CEO is to ensure that I bring all this ecosystem to an operation where everybody does their job. Government does their job, CMOs do their job, the consumers do their job, and we create awareness to understand it's not us versus them. Mm-hmm. It is something that we should do because it's right to compensate our musicians so that they don't, when they fall sick, we don't have to do a rambase. We have gone through that, not just with the musicians, but I remember even people like Mzee Ojuang, the late Mzee Ojuang, God rest his soul in eternal peace. When he died, we went to bury him in Langata. We went to do a fundraiser when he was sick. And I remember visiting him in the hospital with C.S. Matiang'i, then was in charge of this sector. And it was a deplorable condition that a man who entertained this country for almost 40 years would be in that situation, requiring very little money for his medication, but he could not afford because there was no structure to ensure that he monetizes the entertainment or the comedy or the kind of joy that he was bringing to us. Now the future lies in ensuring that there is proper law. You can't just rely on the goodwill of Dr. Ezekiel Mutua or the minister, C.S. Ababu. Mm. You have to put the structures in place and ensure that all the players do their job. CMOs are actually the last bit. If you streamline the legislative framework, if you get consumers to respect music and take it as a consumable product that should be paid for, and musicians as people should be respected, and then when you are negotiating, even when musicians are performing, they are paid well because they are contributing to that business, I think we are going to change the plight of our musicians. Mm-hmm. And they are likely to overtake even the US. And South Africa, I'm looking at the other markets nearby, South Africa, Nigeria, Tanzania. We are more tech savvy and more talented, if you ask me, than even those markets. What has been lacking is the understanding of the copyright business. Okay. Here we don't take it as business. Okay. In fact, even the creative economy, Churchill, you have had Daniel Ndambuki saying his mother used to ask him, what do you do? Mm-hmm. He says, I make people laugh. So what makes money? Where does the money come from? Yeah. Because we don't take creative arts as business. Now that's where we are moving, by creating awareness. I'm very grateful that stations like yours can offer programs like this to discuss business of music. Before, I think music was only when there are complaints, when the CMOs are paid, and they are paid, very miserable amounts. That's the only time that there will be conversations around music. Now we want music to be at the front page. We don't want it to be at the back banner. We don't want musicians to be mistreated. We want to be able to negotiate for them. We are bringing in support even for legal contracts. When they are signing, some of them sign their right away. They sell their birthright. You get 20,000 because you're in a bad situation. You have not paid your rent, and you sign a contract. You give your rights to someone who will make 200 million out of your music, and they paid you 20.
That's pretty sad.
Who is to blame? That one is not the CMOs. That's the work of the government to create awareness. And that's why I was saying, Betty, through the blank tape levy, because it's a huge amount, we are setting aside certain amount to go to Kekobo, actually 20%, for awareness, for advocacy, to ensure that people understand how business of copyright works. As MCSK, through MCSK Foundation, we're also creating programs that are going to go up to schools, that will go to churches, that will go to the villages, and working with the county government, we are going to create a platform where we can identify and nurture talents, but also create a fund that is going to support those musicians to understand what kind of music sells, what kind of markets do they sell their music. Because until you understand this as business and pay attention to the product you're producing, because if you just produce music that is consumed by a small group of people and you think you are very popular because they are tweeting, they are pushing it on social media, it has views and likes, does that translate to money?
No,
because
not all the
until
time,
we get there and say, is it translating to money? Because you tell me kasikia vibaya na uko and it is selling, I will praise you and I will support you. But if it's not selling, I will have a problem. And as a CEO of the music industry, I will advise, then can we try something that will resonate with the market? But if it is selling, I will say, can we do more in that area? And then we need to nurture, to advise and mentor our young people to know that they also have to do music that is consumed also in the continent and globally. So that the language you use, the repertoire, the genre of that music resonates not just with the Kenyan or a community, but resonates with the continental and the global market, so that your music is not just tied to Kenya or tied to your community. It's a music that can be bought, can be consumed in South Africa, can be consumed in the US, and so on. Expanding the market. And now using IT, that becomes pretty easy because the world is a global village. So rather than targeting the 50 or so million Kenyans as your market, you are targeting the 8 billion. Have we reached there? I think we are about 8 billion
we're
now.
Almost 8, yes.
Yeah, we're almost 8 billion. So you can see the dynamics that are changing. Now, because of lack of understanding, and what I told you at the beginning, failure to recognize music as business. Nobody was taking this seriously. You couldn't get a CEO of my caliber becoming CEO of MCSK. You know that. Okay. It's a truth.
That's a jab on the previous CEOs of MCSK.
No. I'm just saying, but the adverts were in the papers. They would put in the papers. It's not really a jab on them. It's a question of if you can compete with the other companies in the market. I'm thinking about getting MCSK listed in the Nairobi Stock Exchange.
Okay.
You got to think like that. You got to think of signing bilaterals with other countries where our music is consumed, because until you sign those bilaterals, you will never get money for your musicians. That's a kind of thinking. So that's what I'm saying. We never elevated the music business to the other businesses. Like what are the other consumables that we sell? Coffee, tea, all those things. We treated music as a side hustle. And it's like your child has to learn, engineering.
In the questions of what do you want to do eventually?
Exactly, eventually, yeah. So you learn law, you're a musician, but do law first. Finish journalism first. Now you're saying you can just be a musician and make money. Okay.
That reminds me, when King Kaka started, making it look like a business, he was wearing suits and putting up billboards.
Exactly.
Not as advertising anything, just his business. People were really shocked.
Yeah. And those are the people who brought the revolution, by the way.
Yeah.
Because Betty, we got to create interest where a child will look at you and say, yes, I want to join because Betty is living well. Because people know you, So if they know this musician, whose hits are playing everywhere, whose songs are being played everywhere, but they can see the struggles. What is the motivation for that child to become a musician? Why would any parent want their child to pursue that career? But if I come to your studio like I am today and promise that we are estimating that through one revenue stream, we'll be able to raise 6 billion. We are going to have circles for musicians. We are going to have medical cover for musicians. We are going to make life better for our musicians. And this becomes a reality because I want it to be practical. I want at the end of this year, during Jamhuri Day, which has been dedicated to the creative economy, the president to issue checks to musicians. Those are the real hustlers, I believe. Give them real checks, real people, so-and-so, MCSK member number this, you get your money, and really money that can make you live comfortably. If we do that, there will be inspiration for many young people to join this industry, and I believe that's how we can now end up catching up with the rest of the world. But we also, like I've said, aiming and signing bilaterals. Our music is consumed everywhere, and we need to protect our copyright, even internationally. You can only do so when you sign reciprocal agreements with other countries. And these are the dynamics I'm saying. You didn't have to get, a musician to become a CEO. Because that's a perception. Even when I was appointed, I had Sauti asking, what songs has Mutua sang? You don't need a CEO, and the staff of MCSK do not have to be musicians. We are looking at this as business. So I'm a CEO to turn around, to lay proper business plans, to be able to open doors, knock doors, and get what I want, get the licenses like we have now. For 7 years, MCSK didn't have a license. People are making noise, but the government failed in that basic responsibility. Okay. We didn't have the new tariffs that have been now gazetted. Now, because you have a CEO who can talk to a minister, who can talk to a PS, who can knock a door and it is open, things are moving pretty much faster. So it was not a job, it was a question of saying, okay, yeah, I hear you. You get there by treating this business seriously. All right. And getting the best that you can. I'm not the best. I'm hoping that in the future, actually, we are going to have the likes of the late Bom Kolimo, sharp minds, even the CEOs leading the banks, being attracted to lead an industry like the music industry, because not only about the money, the music industry is an important sector, because music is an important vehicle for re-engineering our cultural imperatives and our moral values and our culture, bringing peace. Music is therapeutic. When you sit down and you are depressed or you have difficulties and you listen to a nice song, you know what it does to you. Yes. And if we can encourage more of that music, that is not just saying funny things, but when you sit in a matatu and you're in issues, or someone who was feeling like the world is coming to an end, you listen to a song, it gives you hope, it inspires hope in you. That's a kind of concentration we want to put our focus on, so that the quality of our music also resonates with our culture, our national values and aspirations. Speaking of the quality of music and consumption, there is a local musician, very big, I won't mention his name. Yes. He posted a list of the top 10 songs that are listened to by Kenyans on YouTube. And of those songs, only 3 were not Tanzanian. And of the 3 that were not Tanzanian, only 2 were Kenyan. Okay. So that means, I don't know, where is the problem? Is it that Kenyan musicians are not producing music that the Kenyans want, or what is happening? It's like I told you, it all boils down to the government creating a proper policy environment, conducive environment, including enforcement of the local content quota by our broadcasters. There must be an intentional push towards playing more of Kenyan music, because where do you want our musicians to sell their product if music is a product? Because if Tanzania is not reciprocating, and that's why I'm here traveling across the world, signing bilaterals with other countries, because I want our musicians to play in Turkey, to play in Australia, to play in the US, and I want them to collect that money for us, and we pay our local musicians. But here locally, you can't also be playing foreign music and playing foreign programs. We must have an intention where we say music is not just music. It is also a vehicle for social cultural transformation, and there is an intention to ensure that we push our culture through music and through our local programs, so that the local content quota, which is supposed to be now, I think at 75%, is adhered to by broadcasters. Not by force, but because we have good music, really. I don't believe that Kenyan music lacks in quality. I think we have good music. It's only that most of the time we don't appreciate our own. That's the same challenge I'm facing, even as a CEO. That you find people would rather embrace a foreigner than embrace our local musicians. We want our local musicians to be appreciated, to be respected, and to be given opportunities. I hope we'll never have a situation again where a foreigner will come to perform in a national function. It is not moral to do that, particularly for the government. To bring a foreigner to perform in Kenya on a national day, it should never happen. And if it does, I can tell you, I'm the one who lead the demonstration. We have to respect our local musicians, give them opportunities during national days. We should have the best of our musicians. Sometimes I think we do not appreciate our own as we should. And so that focus comes with the local content quota, sensitization. And lastly, I think we have to make this juicy, make music a nice story. Because if you always keep complaining and also using bad language and not engaging the authorities as you should, and if there's no discipline, right from the musicians themselves all the way, then the government will not give you a chance. If you're invited for an event and you come late, or you keep a minister waiting, or you keep your client waiting, and you don't treat this as business yourself, then nobody should respect you. So we are bringing all that ecosystem to work seamlessly, creating awareness, telling these guys to sign the right contract, have discipline. Nobody succeeds by being arrogant. You succeed by being disciplined and humble and working hard. And if we inculcate those values, particularly on the upcoming musicians, and I'm focusing more on that, by the way.
Yeah.
That's why when I got the musicians who came from US and Europe the other day, we had over 200 of them, I sent them to the counties.
Okay.
I didn't keep them in Nairobi because I want to start by creating a new generation of musicians who are exposed, who understand discipline, who are orderly, and who respect authority, and therefore can grow to replace the old crop that found an environment that was chaotic, and therefore they had every reason to behave the way they behave. Okay. But I think going forward, we must have structures, and we must have order, and we must have discipline in this industry. People must produce quality music. Don't just go for cheap propaganda, just two lines that say nothing, and you want to push that on. That's why broadcasters are not playing a lot of our music. So I think we also need to inculcate that and say, produce quality music, and when they do, please play that music.
Right. You've mentioned about sending the 200 to the counties. Of course, I don't think it's really, we are in a bad place. There's a lot of mentorship going on in the industry. The people who have made it, quote unquote, are mentoring a lot of young people. Is there anything as MCSK you're doing to support these mentorship programs?
Absolutely. That's what we are doing every day. Like I've told you, the fact that even now, and because it starts, Betty, with the legislation, you create a platform that goes beyond you. I'll not be at MCSK forever, but I want to have structures that are going to support my work and the vision of MCSK beyond my tenure in office. So what we are doing is right now is to set up the MCSK Foundation. Okay. MCSK Foundation has mentorship, it has advocacy, it has legal support for all those guys. You saw me with Steve-O, the Simbo boy. We are not out of the woods yet, because when you look at it first, he is not a member of MCSK.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay? A popular, a wonderful, amazing guy like that one, he never got the information, because if he had joined, we would be negotiating for him. Then number two, when they are signing the contract, some of them sign, and even the manager or the person they are contracting with walks away with all the copies. So when these cases come to you, you ask, where is the copy, so that we see how to assist you. You find they are not there. So spending time with them, explaining that, giving them an opportunity, opening an office at MCSK where 24/7 you can call if you're signing a contract, and we attach you to a lawyer who is going to help you. Signing agreements or MOUs with Media Council of Kenya, with institutions like LSK, that will help our musicians to get free legal services, and where possible even employing those lawyers for them. I think is going to be to help a great deal. Mentorship is not just talking, it's about also giving them the structures to say, you want to sign a contract, call this number. MCSK will help you to sign the right contract. But you must be a member. You must have empowered us to have the legal local standard for us to defend you. Because if you're not a member, I lack that, legal basis for me to be able, obviously, out of goodwill, I can do it, but it works better in other sectors. You become a member. Mm-hmm. The engineers have their own society and their own legal framework. Lawyers, the same. Every respectable profession has a professional code of ethics also that they uphold. This music that has been treated like a sideshow, like a side hustle, has no structure. So CMOs were being demonized because there was no structure professionally to ensure that these musicians get the support that they need. They also adhere to a certain code of ethics, and they do what they should do also as musicians. Because any business must also be regulated in a certain way to ensure that there's proper discipline and there's order. So that we are doing. And we're doing it as MCSK Foundation. We are hoping that by next year, because MCSK now is 40 years. We were founded in 1983, so 2023 we are 40 years, but we are declaring our all year of celebration and setting up programs that are going to create mentorship, legal support, advocacy, and so on for our musicians. And that's why I said I'm focusing on the upcoming ones. The big guys who are traveling all over the US, it's not for lack of understanding. No. But when we make this, when we make MCSK a good company with proper structures and orderliness and leadership, I can tell you it will attract also these musicians to align themselves with us. Before, you would call for an NGM for MCSK, and these big guys will never turn up. Nobody would come. So what happens? If you don't show up, and this is your organization, the ones who are present will present themselves and be elected to office. Mm-hmm. And the members who have come, they will elect the ones who are there. They will not elect you in absentia. Yeah. And so we want to create interest in MCSK so that these big guys also can buy. They don't complain out there and say they're being sent 600. No, come, participate, be part of the change.
Right.
You can't just sit out there and say this is my organization and you are not doing anything to restructure or to help that organization to be orderly. I am calling on them to pay attention to what we are doing. I think I've never failed, and I'm not about to fail at MCSK. There is going to be change. We are rising now. Like the phoenix, this one is rising. And as we rise and bring tangible changes in the industry, and bottom line is money, Betty. Not stories, bottom line is money. As we start paying these big monies, and as I start the vision that I had last year to make Kenyan musicians billionaires, I want them to pay attention because that money is theirs. I'm just streamlining. I'm the employee. I'm not a musician, but I want to change the story of musicians forever by having proper laws, proper policies, and ensuring that there is an environment that is conducive for the conduct of the transaction of music business.
Right. Clearly, there is a lot of work to be done on the ground.
We are trying. It is really hard. And you can't win alone, by the way. I need the government to support this. I need musicians to support this. I need the consumers of music, including broadcasting stations, to support me. I want us to work together. If we really appreciate that art pays, talanda ne pesa, talanda hela, the vision that Honorable Ababu has, then we go to work together. From the parents to everybody, including churches. Churches use musicians and they don't pay them. A lot of these worship teams that are very essential for the conduct of religious meetings, they don't get anything. You find everybody else is paid, the guest speaker is paid, but these guys who perform these things are never paid. And they have rents to pay, they have school fees to pay for their children. I want to bring awareness where even churches will have a budget to appreciate the people who do worship. Because they have to sacrifice time to go and practice. Yes, it's the work of God, but all this work that we do is the work of God. Please appreciate music and pay musicians.
Pay musicians.
Yes.
30 seconds, Daktari, for your closing remarks. What's the future like?
Oh, the future is bright. The future is bright. I can look at you straight in the eye and say, pay attention to what MCSK is doing. Pay attention to what Honorable Ababu Namwamba is doing at the ministry. We are changing the story of musicians from whining to celebration. There will no longer be space for us to fight. What we are creating now is an ecosystem that works seamlessly, that will ensure that music business becomes profitable and is respected.
Thank you very much. That is Dr. Ezekiel Mutua, the Chief Executive Officer at Music Copyright Society of Kenya. We have been talking for the past hour about how to streamline the music industry in Kenya, what the MCSK is doing, and he says that the future is bright, money is coming to the pockets of musicians. Well, that's where we end BizCheck this morning. Thank you very much for your valued company. My name is Betty Kiptum. Enjoy the rest of your viewing. Bye-bye.
There are times when reason becomes unclear in the heart and forbidden loves come to life. Isabel Montalban will now convert paradise into a land of the wild.